Hello. So, my brain likes to present my dreams to me in the form of movies. They're usually silly sequences that make just enough sense while I'm watching them, but then when I wake up, it feels like I've watched a movie. And sometimes they're set in pre existing fictional universes. They're usually universes that I don't know that much about. And that's probably because if I already know the canon, that's kind of limiting. But if I don't know much, then anything is possible. And recently, I have had a few dreams in the Star Wars universe. And I don't know that much about the Star Wars universe. I think I watched the original trilogy as a kid, but the only thing I really remember is that I thought it was really funny that the drying rack that we had at the time made the same noise as Chewbacca made if you ran a wet cloth over it. And then I watched episode 1 when it came out in theaters, and I remember two things from that. I remember that I really liked Amidala's makeup, and I really liked Darth Maul because I thought that he looked cool and he had a staff, and I really like staffs. And then he got cut in half, and I kind of lost interest in the franchise as a whole. I'm joking, kind of. But recently, I found out that Maul survived. I found it out from a meme, as you do. And I started Googling around. I skimmed his Wikipedia page, and YouTube immediately realized that I have a new interest that it can tap into. So it started suggesting me clips, mostly fight scenes. And then almost immediately, it suggested me the video where Maul dies. For real this time. And I was like, didn't even let me have it for like a day now, did you, Google? I just found out that he's alive and now he's dead again. It didn't even warn me. It didn't tell me that was his death scene. It was called something like Maul versus Kenobi, and I was like, well, that looks fun. It was not fun. So I watched that, and then I went to sleep, and I had the following dream. And I just want to preface this by saying that I have not watched anything. I haven't watched Clone Wars. I have watched one season of Rebels, but after seeing this dream, and also it was season 1, so it's not really relevant. So if something in this dream completely does not make sense in canon, it is because A, I don't know canon, and B, it's a dream. So, strap in. So we start with me being in a room where Maul is fighting a bunch of people. Who are those people? I don't know. Why is he fighting them? No idea. Why am I watching this from behind a pillar? Not a clue. But I feel somehow drawn to Maul. I feel like he's somehow important. And he's fighting some people on this side, and there are some people on this side that are shooting blasters at him. And I feel like he's not going to turn around in time. They're going to kill him. And he would probably be fine. But I panicked. So I go, no! And I stop the blaster bolts in midair. Because in this universe, I have the Force. Because of course I do. It's my dream. Of course I have the Force. If it was your dream, wouldn't you have the Force? And I imagine that stopping blaster bolts in midair probably takes an exorbitant amount of Force ability. But I don't know. Maybe it's because it's a critical situation and I'm able to do this. I don't know. And then Maul turns around and he sees what's happening and he kind of swerves out of the way. I let go of the blaster bolts. They kill the people on this side. He kills the people on the other side. Everyone's dead. It's great. And then he comes up to me and he's like, the fuck are you? But in a cool Sam Witwer voice. And then we just kind of skip past a bunch of stuff and he's taken me in as an apprentice. I'm assuming this is after his brother, Mr. Krabs, got palpatized. So he had an opening. And he's teaching me in the dark side. He's teaching me to draw strength from anger and rage and other synonyms for that same thing. I don't really know what Sith draw power from. I don't know, fear, greed? I'm not sure. But I have a lot of anger, IRL, a lot. So it's going well. But then over time, I'm like, why are we limiting ourselves, though? Why are we limiting ourselves to just these emotions? There are so many others that we could also draw power from. Why are we limiting ourselves to the dark side for that matter? There's this whole other well of power more sources of power is more power good, right? And I'm assuming that the reason for this is that I've always been fascinated by the concept of balance in relation to the Force. And I don't think balance is killing the dark side. I think balance is using both sides. And I realize that I probably don't fully grasp what the Force is in canon, but here's how I see it. So the light side is like a tap. It distributes water in a really controlled, measured, but kind of limited way. And the dark side is like a hose, like a firefighter hose that just spews water everywhere, and there's a lot more of it, but it's much harder to control. And the Jedi are like, do not touch the hose. Don't even think about touching the hose. If you so much as look at the hose, it's gonna fuck you up. And the Sith are like, why bother with the tap when there's the hose? But balance is using both. There are situations where it makes more sense to use the tap and situations where it makes more sense to use the hose. So balance is knowing when to hose and when to tap. And in order to do that, you need to train and understand how to use both. And from what I understand, and I understand that I might understand this very poorly, there have been characters in canon that have attempted to use both sides. I know there are characters that like switched sides a bunch of times. I've heard the term gray Jedi, but I don't understand fully what that is. I'm assuming it's like a Jedi that is sort of trying to use the dark side a little bit. But I've always thought it would be really interesting to have a character that's like a dark sider, not a Jedi that switched to the dark side, but like someone who full on started in the dark side and then sort of tapped into the light side. And I imagine there probably are characters like that in canon, but I don't know canon very well. So to me, it's like a hypothetical. And I think this is what I'm trying to be in this dream universe. I guess I'm like a gray Sith, a Jadith, a Sithai. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is the idea that I'm presenting to Maul. And at first, he's like, no, that's not how it works. You can't do that. If you try to do that, you're going to muddle your concentration. You're going to lose focus. It doesn't work. But I think over time, he starts to consider the merits of what I am presenting to him. And from what I understand, and again, I understand that I might understand it very poorly because my exposure to Maul past Phantom Menace is like a skimming of his Wikipedia page and a handful of fight clips. But I think that at a certain point, he's not really a Sith anymore. He's like a Darksider, but he's not part of these like factions, you know? And to me, those kind of characters are the most interesting because if someone is not part of a group and they're just kind of working for themselves, then they might align themselves with various sides depending on what serves them at any given moment. And someone who's like that is a lot less predictable. I think that kind of character is a lot more likely to be open to exploring something completely new. And I think that's what I'm trying to do in this dream universe with Maul. And I want to make it clear that like I'm not trying to switch him to the light side. I am trying to encourage him to maybe attempt to use both sides, or at least broaden his horizons in terms of what we could draw power from. And over time, I think I kind of whittle him down a little bit, and he starts to maybe consider the possibility of doing this. And I believe that this takes place over the course of many years. Like, you know how in dreams sometimes things are kind of implied? You're not necessarily watching them play out from beginning to end, but you kind of just know that this takes place over a period of like a really long time. I don't know where that would fit into canon. I'm assuming it's like between Clone Wars and Rebels or something. But again, I know very little, so if that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. Just roll with it, please. So eventually, I have a vision of Maul going to Tatooine. Is it Tatooine? Oh yeah, it's Tatooine. It's where Luke lives. Right? Oh God, I need to educate myself. I think it's Tatooine. So I have a vision that he goes to Tatooine and he fights Kenobi and he dies. And I tell him that. And I don't know how he finds Kenobi in canon, but I think in this is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I tell him, if you go to Tatooine and fight Kenobi, you will die. And he's like, oh, Kenobi's on Tatooine? Thanks for the info. I'm gonna go. And I'm like, ugh. But yeah, I basically say, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to do, obviously, but just know that if you go to Tatooine and you fight Kenobi, you're going to get cut in half. Lengthwise this time. And just please remember that there is more to life than anger. And he still goes, obviously. He finds Kenobi somehow. They exchange some words. I don't remember what those words are because I wasn't really paying attention when I watched that video. And also I have ADHD and it's like 2.5 minutes long, so I probably got bored and skipped like half of it. So I don't actually remember what they're saying, but some kind of dialogue happens. And even as he is going into this situation, Maul is already starting to doubt whether he should. As he's talking to Kenobi, he has my words, there's more to life than anger, kind of going through his head. And eventually he starts to hear it in his own voice, and he's starting to accept it as something that is worth considering. So as they're going into their battle stances, they light their weapons, Maul just steps back and he just says no. And he gives a little speech, which I do not remember, but I believe the general idea is that many people throughout history have ignored visions, premonitions, prophecies, because they thought they could do better. They thought they could outsmart, outrun, outfight fate, because their egos were bigger than their weapons. And he acknowledges that his arrogance had misled him in the past, but he does not want to die to it. And he's all like, I will never forgive you, Kenobi. But there is more to life than anger. And he just walks away. He chooses to not fight Kenobi at all. He leaves and he lives. And Kenobi's probably like, the fuck just happened? But yeah, after this, we just kind of go off on our own. We're not Jedi, we're not Sith, we're something else entirely, forging our own path. And I think the reason that this dream happened is because for most people, they saw Maul come back, and then they had years of content, and then he died. But for me, I found out that this character that I really liked as a kid is alive. And then I immediately got served his death. It was very jarring and disappointing. And I went to sleep, and my brain was like, but what if we make a universe where he doesn't die? And then anything is possible again. And the rest of the dream was just like a speed run of character development that would convince Maul to not go kill himself on a Kenobi. I mean, it's not really a speed run. It happens over the course of many years, but in the dream it was like 10 minutes, probably. So, yeah, I don't really know what this implies, like what we do past this point. I know that Maul was like a crime lord for a while, so maybe we do that, but like less angry. Or we do what rebels do, but like more angry. Rebels kill so many people, by the way. I started watching that show, and in the first 5 minutes, like 10 people died. The guy who's the leader of the group we're supposed to root for, like, hands a grenade to a stormtrooper and then explodes them. I'm like, shit, man, this is a kid's show. To be fair, I watched far worse as a kid, but in retrospect, maybe that explains a lot. And everyone they killed were stormtroopers, so I guess it doesn't count. But anyway, here's the thing. I do get sequels to my dreams sometimes, which I know sounds weird, but basically if I think about something before I go to sleep, sometimes it seeps into my dreams, which is how this dream happened. But I have had dreams in the same universe before because I was like, oh, I wonder what happens next, and I thought about it, and then I fell asleep and I had a dream in the same universe. They're not always very good in terms of continuity, but they do take place in the same world, so it kind of feels like they're part of the same story. And I will say, I have seen these characters, the characters of Maul and myself, in another dream, but it wasn't like a real story. We were just on a boat in the middle of a swamp. I don't know what that means. It's like when you're watching something in the same universe and they're like, hey, remember those characters? They're on a boat in the middle of a swamp. Here's a 2-second clip of them, and now I can use it in the trailer. So yeah, I don't think it means anything, but maybe if I think about it, I will get more dreams within the same universe. And if I do, I will make more videos about it. I know no one's going to watch them, but I'm having fun. It's fun trying to put a dream into a cohesive story. Because, you know, in dreams, things like jump around and they're kind of vague sometimes. So it's fun to try to put a dream into a story that I could actually tell. And I realized that this is a lot more fun to watch as a dream than it is to watch as a video where I'm just talking about it. So if anyone made it to the end of this, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Oh, and also, I played Rebel Assault as a kid. Stay on course, Harris. We'll lose them in the asteroid field.